Hi, I'm Victor, and today I'd like to talk about something that someone suggested in another video. Um, so in the comments somebody asked me about my opinion on, Jurassic World Evolution, Prehistoric Kingdom, and Mesozoica. So those are the three main dinosaur park building games out there right now. Additionally, we've got Parkosaur, Parkosaur, still not quite sure how you're supposed to pronounce that name, but something along those lines. We've got Parkosaur, and while it's an interesting game, it doesn't really fill the same niche as those three games are trying to do, because it's going for a way less serious and cartoony approach. It's more of a children game with serious depth than a proper park builder. Don't quote me on that, I haven't played it, and it seems like it's got some really cool stuff, but I don't want to go into that too much right now. It's not included in the comparison, deal with it. So that said, those three games. So, primarily there's two disclaimers immediately, which is impressive because there's not that much I could say, really. But there's two major caveats with me doing this video, and the first is really blatantly obvious. I'm a Prehistoric Kingdom developer, as most of you probably know here. I work on Prehistoric Kingdom. I get paid for working on Prehistoric Kingdom, or at least I will soon now that we've had our Kickstarter. I do not exactly have a straight opinion of Prehistoric Kingdom in which I can reasonably say clear-headed that this is what it's like and whether it's good or bad. That said, I still think I can give a reasonable opinion, and I think I can voice my concerns where that's due, but I just think you should know that. Secondly, there's Mesozoica. I have had some serious issues with Mesozoica in the past, as I have been with Prehistoric Kingdom since the very beginning, and at one point, Mesozoica's lead developer, or lead designer, or whatever he is now, worked for Prehistoric Kingdom, and he's an absolutely shady arsehole. And I had so many unpleasant experiences working with him that I have absolutely gotten up a hatred for that guy. So the fact that he's still in charge of Mesozoica may very well influence my judgment of the game. That said, again, I still think I'm reasonably capable of making a fair judgment, but it's something you should keep in mind if you disagree with what I say. So without further ado, let's get into the actual comparison. I'm sorry if I'm peaking a bit, by the way, as in if the microphone's going too loud or something like that. I'm fiddling with lots of positions for the microphone and stuff like that, because I'm trying to figure out what works well for the recording and for everything else, so that, it doesn't help. So, that said, I'm quickly going to pull up this notepad thingy, because I actually prepared something for once. My other videos are always just doing stuff. Yeah, so there's... I'm in first instance, I'm going to start off with the biggest, baddest thing in the bunch. So I'm going to start talking about Jurassic World Evolution. So Jurassic World Evolution is a park builder being developed by Frontier Games, who have developed Zoo Tycoon for Xbox One, and have, most importantly, also done... God damn it, how did I forget the name? Planet Coaster. There we go. They did Planet Coaster. Planet Coaster is an incredibly open, creative, and cheery game in which you build your own roller coaster park, basically theme park. That words, people. I'm competent. So you build your own theme park, and they've absolutely nailed it, and it's a really good game. It's mainly targeted at creative people. There's lots of modular building systems and that sort of thing, and it absolutely facilitates you for trying to be creative. That said, that's the main thing it does well. Frontier does not do management very well. In the one game that they have had heavy management, which wasn't even a management game, I'm talking about Elite Dangerous, which is a space game like No Man's Sky, except you actually have to do stuff. They have management, and the management mainly revolves around opening menus, clicking the right buttons, and closing the menus. There's a lot of depth, and it's in no way accessible. So Frontier does not have a reputation, for me personally, as being good at doing management in games. That concerns me, personally, because I absolutely adore management, and as such, I think that Jurassic World Evolution is going to go more towards creative stuff and being accessible. What reinforces that is that the recent leak, like yesterday or something leak, about Jurassic World Evolution, refers to the game as being targeted at consoles, which is a very important thing to note, because consoles do not have the versatility that a PC does. You can't just go across menus easily. So if something's designed for consoles, you can safely assume that you're going to lose a lot of depth, because you can't easily make the same depth accessible as you can on a PC. So, that said, the game's going to be a lot less in-depth, and it's going to be a lot more straightforward, and as such, I think, again, it's going to be focusing more on the creative side of things. Even there, though, it will be limited, because you can only go so far in terms of controls. On PC, you can very easily position something in freeform placement by just dragging 3 axes around. I think that's going to be a very hard thing to implement properly on a console, and as such, I have my doubts about how much creative freedom you're actually going to get playing Jurassic World Evolution. That said, it's Jurassic Park canon. It's probably going to have hybrid, so it's got some really, really cool stuff going on for it. It's being made by a big developer. It's got lots of backing. It's got everything going for it, basically. Just checking my little notes. Yeah, so that's more or less what we know, because the problem with the game is we don't know a lot. Most of what I've said here is just guesswork based on what I think is going to happen to the game. We don't actually have any of this confirmed. So, we know that there's going to be tech trees, God knows how they're going to work, and we know that there's going to be dinosaurs, new dinosaurs that haven't been in the series before. We know that there's a Deinonychus with a really weird crest, which we're probably going to fix, by the way, because we addressed that on Twitter, and the guy neatly responded to us, and actually said that they would take the feedback into the team. So that's hopefully going to change. But besides that, we really don't know anything, so I can't say too much about the game. Then we're going on to the 2 indies, and one thing that I've seen a lot is people asking, how are you going to compete with Jurassic World Evolution? And I think it's safe to say that for both Mesozoica and Prehistoric Kingdom, we're not trying to compete. We're trying to fill a niche that Jurassic World Evolution is not filling. And in the case of Mesozoica, I think they're trending very heavily towards trying to facilitate creative freedom for players, and in the case of Prehistoric Kingdom, that's going to come from management. So, the differences between Mesozoica and Prehistoric Kingdom are mainly going to end up... No, they're not mainly going to end up. They're pretty goddamn big, because in the end, Mesozoica has generally inaccurate dinosaurs. They have a modeler who just, for the life of him, doesn't know how anatomy works. You can decide for yourself whether that's a bad thing. Lots of people don't mind, lots of people don't care and don't notice. I personally do notice a bit, but I don't care as much as most paleo enthusiasts. The moment that he models a deer and it looks like a goddamn rabbit, it does bug me a bit, but generally speaking, I'm alright with it. That said, in the current release, there's freeform building a la Planet Coaster. The problem with it is that it does it poorly, and it's clunky, and it doesn't feel well. There's also stuff like fence building, path building. It's really infuriating how those two, for instance, are on completely separate grids. So, it's trying to do lots of things, and most of those things it's not doing well. It concerns me how, at this point in the development cycle, they're focusing on little things like adding loot boxes for the bloody skin drops, because I don't think that should be a priority for something to implement for the programmers when you are that far behind on your development schedule, because they promised to release in 2015, if I'm not mistaken. December 2015, that's like 2 months after their Kickstarter got them 55,000. So that's ever so slightly concerning. There's also the fact that I don't think they know where they're going. They have always marketed themselves as a Jurassic Park Operation Genesis spiritual successor, and they've always given off signs as wanting to be that. Now, as soon as Jurassic World Evolution came out, obviously that sparked some massive issues. They stopped being the Jurassic Park Operation Genesis spiritual successor for a little bit, and after more or less a week, they went back to being it again. Nobody really knows what happened there, but that sort of thing really concerns me, as it makes me feel like they don't have a clear internal design direction. So, my problem with Mesozoica is that it could have been so much, But the fact that they're now out there selling it confidently for €30 in its current state, which is honestly broken for the few things it has, I'm not feeling very secure about the future of the game/project. I hope I'm going to be proven wrong. I would love for there to be more good park builders and stuff like that, because as a developer, and I will make a video about this as well, it's not nearly as fun to play your own game as it is to play other people's games, which basically do the same thing, because you know your own game, and you don't know other people's games. So that's generally speaking more fun. So I really do hope that Mesozoica ends up being a good game. I wish Max Wood wasn't involved in it, but besides that, fine by me. That said, there's not a whole lot of stuff to do. There's some creative stuff, such as, placing fences on a shitty grid, and there's clunky building, and that's more or less it. All of the fancy stuff they promised in regards to, for instance, AI, it isn't there. They worked on visitors a lot. Well, I guess it's sort of there, but they don't really do anything as far as anyone's concerned, except for show really poor animations. So, Mesozoica, I'm concerned. It could have been a lot, but it isn't any of the things it could have been. It wanted to look good. It doesn't look good because it picked the wrong engine, and it basically just... The renders looked amazing, and anything in-game looks like shit because they can't replicate the same detail that they had in the renders, and as such, the game now just kind of looks crappy. It's a shame. It seriously is. It could have been so much more, and that's a general consensus on Mesozoica. On to Prehistoric Kingdom, which is obviously my own project, so I'm going to be a little bit biased here. The primary thing is that we're trying to differentiate, so we're not going into the creative side, we're also going into creative side. So on one hand, we've got the creative side, we're working on things like curved fence building and that sort of thing, so you can build actually fancy exhibits instead of just grid-aligned stuff, so we're going to try to do completely freeform building systems. We've been working really hard for the Jurassic patch on making believable AI, so animals herd now, animals walk around and interact with each other. Carnivores hunt, but for instance, velociraptors only hunt certain animals, which are under a certain size, or they only hunt infants for larger species, that sort of thing. So that's one side of it, and the other side is that we're trying to focus really heavily on management, because that's something that's generally speaking missing in tycoon games in regards to park builders. So we're trying to add a layer of depth to the game, which isn't usually there. So if you look at City Skylines, for instance, it's like comparing City Skylines to SimCity in that regard. SimCity is just sort of there and stuff happens, but you're not really in control. And what we're trying to do is be more like City Skylines, where lots of things actually happen and you need to make sure you're on top of them. So we're working with energy generation, we're working with keeping your supplies stocked, making sure that you have enough food to feed your dinosaurs and all that sort of thing. So while you guys don't really see that clearly yet, we're working on lots of stuff that's actually going to emphasize the management side of things instead. Which is one of the major things in how PK is trying to differentiate. Additionally, a thing that most people probably don't care about or actually actively dislike is the fact that we are trying to go for accurate depictions of dinosaurs. We're giving dinosaurs feathers. Lots of people hate it, lots of people love it. Probably the majority hates it, being honest, which is a shame. But that is a thing to take into consideration as well if you think that's important, and especially Mesozoica, with basic anatomy issues and stuff like that, is a blatant disregard for how animals work and should work. So that's a concern there, and that's something I feel that we are doing right. Another thing that does bug people about Prehistoric Kingdom is the fact that our art style is semi-stylized. We're not completely realistic. Mesozoica is going for a realistic take, and so is Jurassic World Evolution. We are not. We're sort of doing realism, but at the same time we're also being more vibrant and more cheery than realism generally would be. So the game has a bit of a stylized undertone. Whether that's a good or a bad thing, that's again up to yourself to decide. I don't mind it. I wouldn't mind the realism either in any other game. So I don't really care where it goes either way. But overall, basically, here's my consensus. Jurassic World Evolution is what Mesozoica would have and should have been. And Prehistoric Kingdom is more or less Jurassic World Evolution with accurate dinosaurs and management. So a less accessible version of Jurassic World Evolution. And again, for some people, things being less accessible is really good, and for some people, that's absolute shite because they don't know how to deal with it. And either one of those is fine, as long as you take into consideration that one doesn't make the other bad. So I think that, in a sense, Prehistoric Kingdom and Jurassic World Evolution are definitely going to compete with each other. In another sense, I also think that it won't matter too much, because we're going to be taking completely different niches in the market. That doesn't have too much in it anyway. That said, Mesozoica kind of falls outside of that circle for me personally. I'd like to hear your opinions about that. I don't know how heavily biased I am in giving that opinion. I might be incredibly biased without even realizing it. But looking at it constructively, like I think I've done in this video, I fail to see how the project really delivers on its promises. So I'd like to hear from you guys what you think about that. And for now, I'd like to thank you lovely people for joining me. Leave a like and a comment down below. Tell me what you thought of what I said in this video. Do you agree? Do you disagree with the fact that I think Jurassic World Evolution is not going to be doing well in management and that it's going to go for accessibility? Do you think Mesozoica is actually great and that PK is missing lots of stuff that Mesozoica is doing well? I'd love to hear your thoughts, and I am fully willing to engage in proper discussion as well. Keep it clean in the comments, don't burn down one of the games because you don't like something about it. But I'd like to see what you guys think. So, thanks for watching. Hopefully I'll see you again in the next video, which will probably be a game devlog instead. So episode 3 in the game devlogs, and I'll probably be talking about why it's so different to play your own game compared to other people's. So, thanks for joining me, and without further ado, I hope I'll see you next time.